Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk, episode 504, first week of September 2024. And this week, we're going to look at the August home sales data since we just got that. We're going to look at the home inspection and resolution process if you're buying or selling.
That's really the repair process,
Yeah.
the repair negotiations when you're buying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then really good news on mortgage rates. I've got some really interesting data on why home sellers are not selling. And just a little bit on that. Since 2019, if we compare to 2019, the number of homes going on the market in the Albuquerque area is down 30% from that normal year of 2019. And we've got homes of the week, Tracy, you're going to go over. And then there was a city council thing on short-term rentals I just wanted to hit on real quick. And
Let's start there.
okay, no, good idea. Let's just first off, we're the Albuquerque, we have the team of Venturi Realty Group here in Albuquerque. We are with Real Broker, and you can reach us at 505-448-8888 if you've got any real estate questions or real estate needs, or you're looking to buy or sell. That's what we do.
Perfect. So short-term rentals, Tigo. Something popped up on the city council's agenda this week that was there a year ago that did not pass, and tell us about it.
Yeah, it came back around. I didn't go to the meeting. Actually, people I know went to the meeting, and the city council had a bill, maybe an ordinance, I guess what you would call it, on the docket to limit the number of short-term rentals that could be properties that could be short-term rentals in certain areas of town. And it was interesting. It was the common tourist areas, Old Town, Borealis was part of it, a few other areas I don't remember specifically. But the end of it is that bill did not pass. And so it was a not pass. And what it was going to do was not limit what is existing for short-term rentals, but limit any new short-term rentals. It was an interesting debate. You can watch it on YouTube if you care on how it shook down, but it did not pass pretty handily. I think it was
6-3 or something.
7. I don't remember. Yeah. Anyway, So it did not pass. So just one little housing tidbit there. A lot of other housing news kind of in the political world. There's some money available now for redevelopment. The city just announced that. There's a huge fund that the state has, $125 million to help with infrastructure development. So there's a lot going on in the housing world. I really don't want to get in the weeds on that, but it is interesting. There is a lot of recognition from the policymakers that we have a housing problem in the sense that we just don't have enough properties, affordable housing, or housing affordability. I like to put it that way better. It is a big challenge and continues to be.
So Tigo, I know you've already thrown out one stat so far. I know you're itching to get after the August statistics now that we're into September, to give us kind of the recap of the housing market in the Albuquerque area for August.
Did you watch my video?
Which one? You put one out like every 4 hours.
No, it was the latest one. I just put a video up on YouTube where I break down the data. So if you want to look for that, you can find that and go through all the market data and you can look at that. But let's just hit some of the high notes here. Home prices for August, median price, and this is for all single family detached homes in the Albuquerque area, $361,000 basically. That's actually down from July. It was $375,000. So it did drop. Again, that's median. So that's the mid price between all the homes that sold. Year over year, that's only 0.2%, 0.2% higher than last August. So home prices have flattened out. I think I've been talking about that. If not, I've been thinking of it in my head that home prices have flattened out. If we look at average price in Albuquerque is now $322,000. That's 0.5% higher than last August. And all of these numbers that we're comparing to last year, August of last year was the peak month for the entire year last year. So we are comparing to the high point. And if we look at price per square foot, it's also up 0.5% over last year and down slightly from last month. So home prices they're not declining, but they're flat. We're just, I think I don't know, Tracy, I don't know. What do you think might be creating this where home prices have just flattened out?
Think it's seasonal, first of all.
Mhm.
And I think there's a threshold how much buyers can take, right? So we have to, there's that happy medium of what sellers want and what buyers are going to pay for. And I think maybe buyers are pushing back a little bit on price increases, or the homes that maybe are pricing a little too high, they're sitting there a little bit longer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there is definitely some it's much more price conscious. We know affordability is a challenge for a lot of folks, and I think that's affecting it. I will say though, when I look at what the prices of the homes that are in current pending status right now, so these are homes that are under contract, sitting in pending, waiting to close, those are up about 4% from the pending homes a year ago.
Right.
So I do still expect year over year price appreciation is just much more moderate compared to definitely than the last few years where what year was it? 2022 we had 17%
Right.
price appreciation.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely moderated. And when we look at home sales, closed sales, they're actually down about 9% from last August. Again, same thing. Activity's slower, prices are flattening out. I think there's just a lot of fatigue too. And I don't know if it's people are concerned about the economy, if it's the election, if it's just people are waiting. It just seems that there's just not as much people anxious to be buying and selling. Of course, I say that we still had 800 homes sell in August.
Yeah.
It's not like people aren't buying and selling homes. It's
And
just not as fast as it's been.
And for our team members are out showing homes. We do have
Yeah.
buyers that are wanting to buy. They're looking for the right property. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Just one other thing I want to hit on the market data is the month supply. So month supply of inventory is a metric where that we use to say, okay, is it a buyer market, seller's market? And month supply, it's how many if so in this case we're at 2.3 months supply. And what that means is if no more homes come on the market and same number of homes sell in 2.3 months, we'll have no more homes on the market.
Yep.
In the traditional model is that you say 4 or 5 months supply is maybe a balanced market, 6 months supply is a buyer's market. Anything under that 4 or 5 month supply is a seller market. If you look at this and you say 2.3 months, we're still in a seller's market. However, if you look at that low price point, say 300,000 and under, it's closer to 1.2 months supply. So that market is still very competitive. And we know that, right? Because
We
we've
do
got
know that.
people looking for homes in those lower price points and it's still very competitive, right?
Right. It sure is.
And then when you get up into the higher price ranges, let's say 600,000 and above, which we loosely call that the luxury market in the Albuquerque area, 600 and above, it's closer to 4.5 months supply. So that one's much closer to a balanced market. So it really depends when somebody says, how's the market? Is it a buyer seller's market? What market are you talking about?
We've been saying that forever, though. It's
Yeah.
always that way.
And I just want to say one last thing on that is these are averages. These are just looking at the big picture averages. Every home is different. Every need is different. Every neighborhood is different. Every part of town is different. And so these are broad things, but it doesn't mean that a $1.5 million house can't come on the market and sell in one day.
We've seen that happen.
Yeah. So it again, they're averages.
Right. Okay.
That's the quick market update.
There it
Again, if you
is.
want to check out our YouTube channel, Venturi Realty Group, you can check us out. I've got a deeper dive into all of this. Let's break down this home inspection, resolution, repairs process that both buyers and sellers go through when they're buying or selling a home, Tracy.
Sure. Tigo, most of the listeners that have bought or sold a home know that part of the process, first, we have a negotiation to agree on the terms, the pricing, the closing date, all the items that are in a purchase offer, right? That's the first negotiation. Another negotiation that's a part of the purchase process is repairs. So a home buyer has the opportunity to do inspections once they have the house under contract. And our standard how things work is They then have the opportunity to put together a repair request that gets presented to the seller for consideration. So it's another negotiation, really. Now, some houses we see people advertising them as sold as is, no repairs, right? So does that mean somebody can't do an inspection?
If the buyer waives that right, they can purchase a home without an inspection, but nobody in there would ever waive that right. But you can waive the right to do inspections. If you're in let me say this, if you're in a competitive situation, and we saw this back during COVID when we had homes that were getting 20, 30 offers, people were waiving inspections altogether as is, cash, over list price, anything they could do to get the home.
So what I said was, if it's as is, does it mean you can't do inspections? No.
No.
No, you can still do inspections. You just want to make sure that you're comfortable with the condition. But yes, some people do waive them all together to be the buyer selected to buy that home. But just because it says as is doesn't mean that you can't do the inspections to make sure to not uncover something that is important to you. But in any event, typical process is the buyer has the opportunity to present a list of what they want fixed to the seller side, and then the seller can say, yes, no, I'll do A, but not B. I'll do C, but not D, or I'll give you money instead of doing these repairs, or some combination thereof, or say, I'm not doing anything. Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of steps in the process, and it's really important that you understand because there's deadlines and there's some pretty critical deadlines.
Right.
For example, if you're a buyer, you have a deadline in your purchase contract that says you must make those repair requests to the sellers by that date, whatever the date is that it's agreed to. And if you do not, you've waived your right to do though to make that repair request.
And that has a whole different set of issues if you miss that deadline and aren't happy about something in the house or whatever. But in general, there's deadlines we follow. We help our clients navigate through that. We help our clients find home inspectors and whatever resources we don't have our own favorites or whatever, but we can help them with scheduling things and getting those things done and talking about what's customary and usual for what a seller would do, right? Most loans, if there's a loan involved, do require that certain hazards, safety, mechanical type things get taken care of. And what we know is a lot of times sellers need to fix them for somebody else if this buyer doesn't go through with the sale because they're unhappy. If the seller says, no, I won't do any of that, then we know that they probably will fix them anyway, some of them for the next buyer, or they disclose it and say, don't make an offer unless you're willing to take this house with a bad roof or a non-working cooler or whatever comes up, right?
One point I want to make is on this, and you can add to it, is in New Mexico, there is a licensing for home inspectors. And when we talk about that, that we're talking about a full home inspection. And in New Mexico, there's a very specific list of things they do and do not do when they do this full home inspection. And it's important for buyers to understand that they're going to do this very actually, it's a really deep dive,
Comprehensive.
and yeah, it's pretty comprehensive, but there are certain things that they don't address. And if you want those things addressed for radon, let's say, give me some other examples.
Termite,
Termite, dry rot.
fireplace, sprinklers.
Yeah,
A lot of home inspectors aren't required to check those things, and they don't. A septic, those are separate people
right.
that do those inspections.
Hazardous stuff like asbestos, lead-based paint. Yeah, so I've got a long list of all the different types of inspections you can get, and it's pretty long. You could have somebody do a specific roof inspection that's just for the roof,
Right.
even though the home inspector looks at the roof and they give a summary. You may want a deeper dive into that too.
Right.
Structural inspection. That's the home inspector will look and give cursory feedback if they see something that's maybe not right structurally, but you could also hire a structural engineer to do a full deep dive into that as well.
Right. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's another negotiation in the process of buying and selling homes.
Yeah. And that seems to be the one where hiccups happen, if you will. I don't know if that's the right term, but where you think you're moving forward and then you get to this and then there's some challenges that may come up along the way there, Tracy.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's talk about a few homes of the week.
Yes.
We have a couple interesting ones that came on to market just yesterday, right? One in Rio Rancho, mid Rio Rancho. It's actually in the high resort, kind of Broadmoor area, very near Rio Rancho High School. It's 2497 Green Lake Road, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage for 315,000 and brand new to the market. So if you're interested in that one, give us a call right away and we'll get you in. It's a nice corner lot, a nice open floor plan. It's
315. That is quite a bit below the median price in the area right now, which again was about 360. So
yeah.
it is in the lower price point these days.
Yeah. And it does have, I would consider a larger yard. It's about 0.22 of an acre. And I think part of that is because it's on a corner lot, it gives you a little bit more space.
Correct.
That one's ready. Like the other one is very interesting. It's on Gunsmoke Road. And does that not say I live in New Mexico or the Great Southwest?
Yeah.
It's 102 Gunsmoke Road in Sandia Park, and that is on North 14 on the Turquoise Trail on the way to Santa Fe, just past Paco or just before Paco. You turn off and it's in the La Madera neighborhood. This one is 15 acres, almost 16 acres.
Yep.
And a 2-story nice house that's ready to go, priced at 350,000. You're looking to have 15 acres.
It's a really good value. It does need a little bit of TLC. I was going through it, the photos and some detail on it yesterday, and yeah, it looks like a great opportunity for somebody that really wants that mountain retreat.
Yeah,
a lot of land, get away from it all.
Plus, it backs to National Forest.
That's right.
So you're on 15 acres, but you're adjacent to National Forest. And what I've heard is they've seen a wildlife occasionally. Pretty interesting.
It would make sense out there.
Yeah. So if you're interested in your 15-acre slice of heaven off North 14 at the opposite base of the foothill, right on the other side of the Sandias in the foothills, give us a ring right away on that one. We have a couple others, Tigo, that are just to note. We have a 14116 La Cueva Northeast. It's in the 87123 neighborhood. It's a 4-bedroom for 450,000. That's a good one. We have another one on Carmelito Loop, 6963. This one is by North Domingo Baca Park, right by La Cueva High School, just north of Paseo, by Louisiana and Paseo. 500,000, just move-in ready property. And then we have the one in Moriarty that we talked about a few weeks ago for 565,000. I have to get something to disappear on my screen. It's on how many acres? 10 acres on Homestead Drive in Moriarty. Really beautiful, big. It looks like a plantation house or something, right? It's really great. So lots of variety. If you're looking for something special, though, give us a call. We'd be happy to find it for you and help you with that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, we got to talk about mortgage rates because this is big news. This is, I say big news, but it's good news. And the thing that's so crazy about mortgage rates is when the economy appears to be bad, mortgage rates get better. And that's what's happening. A lot of news lately has been that the inflation has slowed down and the employment's not that great and all that. And that's created the prices in the bond market, like the 10-year treasury bill, to go down, which then drives the mortgage rates down. So long way to say.
I know, you've lost me already. I just want to know the end of the story.
The end of the story is mortgage rates are the lowest we've seen since January of 2023. So over a year, whatever that is, year and a half now. And what I'm seeing our rate somewhere around 6.3 for this is highly qualified buyers,
which means really good credit score.
Yeah,
and
good
income.
credit score, good down payment, all that stuff. That's pretty darn good.
That's 2 points lower than a few months ago, really.
I remember when I bought my first home, which was early 90s, I got a 7% and was thrilled. I know we can't compare to the early 90s. It's a
I know
different
we
level,
can
but
tell other
yeah.
stories, but
And of course, it was a $90,000 house at the time too.
Good job for buying a home when you were a young man.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of which, I've got another data point I wanted to point out. There's a organization called Pulsenomics, and they do a survey every quarter of over 100 of the top economists and specifically housing economists in the country. And they've been doing this for years, and they project like what are home prices going to do over the next year or so. And they've projected out over basically starting, they include 2024, but they go out to 2020. What is that? I can't read it now. I've got a chart on my screen I can't see. Out to 2028. So 5-year span. And again, over 100 different economists. And what they do is they take the mean of all these different economists and what did they say? And they came up with 20% over the next over 5 years, so about 4%
4% a year.
per year. The most optimistic economists are at 31% over that 5-year period. The most pessimistic is 7.5. So even the most pessimistic economists expect home prices to continue to grow just at a much more modest pace than we've seen
Which
recently.
means that the pessimists think it could actually go down before it goes up. You never know. It doesn't mean it's going to be equal over 5 years, going
No.
up to 7.5%.
Yeah, no, and that's
But
no doubt. And one of the lenders, I posted this on Facebook the other day, and one of the lenders here locally made a good point. He said, that means if you've got a typical Sandia Heights or Northeast Heights home, $600,000 value, you're basically gaining $25,000 per year. It's a way to put it in perspective. I thought that was
that's good
interesting.
perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last story I wanted to hit on, Tracy, was this thing about why are home sellers not selling? And I have to go back to my Facebook. Here it is. I put all this
To
stuff
the
on
Facebook.
the Facebook.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you want to just stay up with what's going on in housing in Albuquerque, seems like lately that's all I post on Facebook is market news for Albuquerque and the country for real estate.
We do have a life outside of real estate, but
We
we
do.
just don't think to put it on Facebook and Instagram and all those places, right? We forget.
Well, this is going to sound arrogant, but I've become the go-to for the Albuquerque real estate community on what's up with the housing market. And part of it is I've become the myth buster on some of the crazy things that are out there that everybody says that it's all the Californians are moving here and buying with cash. And it's like, no, that's not happening. Yes, there's a few people, but it's not a big thing. Anyway, but this was interesting. FHFA, which is the Federal Finance Housing Authority, whatever they are. Anyway, they oversee Fannie and Freddie. They did a white paper and did a deep dive into what they call the lock-in effect. And you've heard that term. I think a lot of people listening probably heard that a term. But what that's talking about is if you have an existing mortgage and it's whatever that rate is, it's really hard for you to give up that good rate and go to a higher rate mortgage, the current mortgage rates of, let's say, 6.5%. And what they did is they looked at everybody that has a mortgage. Have to add a point to that is in the United States, 60% of the homes have a mortgage, 60 to 65. So somewhere between 35 and 40% of all homes in the United States are free and clear. So we're only talking about that 60 to 65%. But of that, 75% of those people have a mortgage that is 2% lower or more than the current going rate. So it's really hard to give that up and go up to a higher mortgage rate. And that's what they're calling the lock-in effect. And what they found is in the 2 years of from quarter 2 to 22 to quarter 2 24 is they estimate 1.72 million fewer homes sold in the United States in that time period. Well, that's over 2 years, but it's a big number. And just to give you perspective, there's maybe a normal year would be 5 to 6 million homes per year selling in the United States. Last year, it was closer to 4 million because it was a very slow year. This year, it looks like it's on a similar pace. But anyway, it's just an interesting contributing factor to why we don't see is a lot of listings. And like I said at the top of the show, from 2019 compared to today, there's about 30% less homes being listed for sale. People are just staying put.
Yep. So let's change the subject.
Okay.
It's been a lot of heavy stuff, right?
Heavy.
All these stats and home sales and interest rates. I just want to tell you, I had the opportunity to show homes in Corrales. And at this almost the north end in Corrales on the west side of the road, there's these steers that are on like 2 acres up to the road. And they have these huge Texas Longhorn horns on them. I wanted to stop and take a picture of them to show them to you, Tigo, but maybe we can go drive by. They are so cool looking, but that's part of the beauty of what I love about my job. I get around town. We just listed that beautiful property in Sandia Park. I'm sure there's something to be seen there that's not what you see every day, right? But those, I don't know what they really are, but I think of them as Texas Longhorns because they have those huge things that come out both
Yeah,
sides
there
to
must be
big
some
points.
special name for them, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
there
know
I'm
I
sure
know what
there
you mean.
is.
Yeah,
But anyway, part of the beauty is we get around in the foothills of Albuquerque. I've seen tons of deer running through house property yards when I've been up there showing. So that's part of the fun stuff that we get to do that makes my heart happy, along with helping people with their real estate needs. I'm going to leave it there and talk about the cows
yeah. No,
or the whatever they are.
that was much lighter and fluffier than all my econ data and stuff.
It
And
was all good.
I yeah, and I do what I do because I think it's important to understand in New Mexico, Tracy, for every home that sells, it has over $100,000 of economic impact on the state, both locally and statewide. And that's a big deal. And if we don't have as many sales as we've had, so that does make a difference in the economy. Housing is a big deal, and of course, we are in a challenging housing market for a lot of people because of affordability. And unfortunately, the reality is there's no silver bullet out there that's just going to fix it automatically. It's going to take some time for
Totally
sure.
is.
Yeah.
We sure do appreciate you all listening to us every week and being part of our show. We love to do this. Would love to hear from you if you have questions, or like Tigo said, if you want help buying or selling or knowing about great programs that might work for you or someone that you know. Give us a call, 448-8888, and we'd love to connect.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Again, it's a Venturi Realty Group, and you can reach us on our website as well at welcomehomeabq.com. If you're a data nerd like me and you want to dig into data, I've got all the charts and graphs and data and all that good stuff on our website as well. Take care. Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. We appreciate you. And please click subscribe. We'll keep you updated on what's going on with real estate in the Albuquerque area and New Mexico, and of course, across the entire country. Have a great one.